be talking about data loss prevention with Office 365. My name once again is Idara Ukpong, and I'm an MCT. I'm also a cloud security engineer, and I work with Ha-Shem Limited. So let's just dive into the topic for today. So we'll be having an introduction, we're having causes of data leakages, talking about the importance of data loss prevention. We'll be talking about general data loss prevention solutions that we have, just giving an overview of what data loss is about really. Then down to the main topic of today, which is the data loss prevention that you can achieve using Office 365. So basically what data loss prevention speaks about, or what data loss prevention talks to us about, is any way which an organization can protect its sensitive information from getting to the wrong hands, from being destroyed, from theft or whatever reason. And another sensitive topic, or another aspect of this topic, is what is a sensitive information. Now that leads to the type of organization you're running, the kind of information your organization deals with. For every organization, be it hospital that deal with users' data, their history, patients' history, talk about their house addresses, their blood type, and other sensitive information, and banks that deal with our details. We have other organizations like maybe insurance companies. We have a lot of organizations that might not require, or might think they don't require protection, or they don't have any sensitive information per se that they want to get to the wrong hands. But then again, sensitive information is not peculiar, or it's not peculiar to to just organizations that deal with user data. We have organizations like even phone companies, or that have your phone records, as little as your phone records. That can be something that's important to, or that can be used against you if it gets into the wrong hands. So as an organization, you first have to decide or classify your data to know which is sensitive, which you want to keep in-house, and which you want to allow to be get into the general public. So basically that's what data loss prevention talks about. Now, data loss prevention has a need, or has arisen, or arisen for different purposes, or for different reasons. Earlier, when we had perimeter network protection, or should I say when people were limited to office areas as their work environment, breaches and theft, or should I say exfiltration, was limited or was harder for attackers. But now, in the age of the cloud, where our users even work from home, especially since this pandemic arose, we have threats arising from different situations. People have their organizational data being accessed from different platforms, from users' phones, from user devices, not just the company-owned devices. So data loss or data leakages can happen from anywhere. But on my screen here, you can see I just have about 3 highlighted, talking about insider threats, which is less common in Nigeria. I think this happens, or we hear most of this happen in news, where you see someone who's a whistleblower, or someone that actually carries information because he was wrongfully, he feels he's wrongfully terminated, or feels he has not been promoted enough, or for whatever reason. Some people now decide to start selling company secrets, or getting our company information and giving to the wrong hand. So that's what insider threats talks about. Basically, those that have privilege to be in our environment, but also have malicious intent. Then we have the external breach, which we are all used to, the internet fraud, people that send us fake mails. In picture, you have won 600 million from GT Bank, input your password here, and this, that will take you to heaven and bring you back. All of those attackers, where our users mistakenly click on these links, input their data, and now get exposed to attack. And we have the unintentional exposure. I'm trying to send a mail to my colleague that has some information. I mistakenly copy. I want to send it to Adewale Ayodele, that is Ha-Shem, but I mistakenly sent it to another Adewale that is outside the company, and now he has sent this information that is supposed to be something for within the company. So that's what unintentional exposure deals with, or what it talks about. Basically, the fact that we can have our data into the wrong hands, not only intentionally but also unintentionally. So data leakages, should I say, can occur anyhow, and we have to be prepared for this, or we have to make sure that our end users are protected from even leaking our secrets, or leaking our sensitive information unintentionally. Now, as for the importance, I already mentioned some of the importance earlier, but there are other importance that go beyond just within company regulations, or within a company trying to safeguard information. you have the compliance with regular or relevant regulations. I mean, governments have their own policies about their own users' data. For instance, in the UK, or should I say Europe as a whole, they have a rule that you can't store their user data outside their planet, their continent, or outside their region. So basically, if I'm using a cloud solution and I work in the UK, or I have UK customers, the UK customers must have their information stored in a data center that is only in Europe. And to do this, or if my users, even though I've sensitized my users, to ensure that my users can no longer transfer or copy data to the wrong location, maybe ignorantly or for whatever reason, I also need something like a DLP policy or a solution to ensure that that does not happen accidentally or for whatever reason. So there's that. We have protection for company information, of course. We don't want the sensitive information or company trade secrets or to get into the wrong hands. We have data visibility, because what data loss prevention policies or data loss prevention solutions also give us is beyond protection. It also gives us like an insight to see the kind of sensitive information within my environment, and who is accessing this information, who am I sharing this information with, when and time. So this rich reporting also helps the management of an organization to have a total or a holistic idea of how their environment is being accessed, how their data is being shared, what data is being classified or decided as sensitive, and where it resides. Now we have security for bring your own devices. That's what Blue IO means, bring your own devices. Not all organizations provide you with your own laptop, or even the ones that provide you with your own laptop. For the instance, the situations where we are now, where our users are working from home and they do not have, sorry, give me a minute. Yeah. So our users are working from home, and maybe for some reason they don't have light, or their laptop is has run out of battery, but they have to continue work because something is urgent or for whatever reason, and they now try to access our data using their own devices. Do we have something that protects our data from their devices? We have protection on our own devices that were provided for them. Maybe we have DLP solutions on our devices, like maybe BitLocker, that nothing can happen. Even if the laptop is stolen, someone cannot access this information. What of when they have their own devices being used? What happens to the data? So, although this our topic is going to cover what Office 365 data loss prevention can achieve, there are other data loss prevention solutions that help us provide protection for our data in various ways. We also have as things that might seem minimal to us, like conditional access, which is very important in a situation like this, where I can say for people that use their personal devices, right? When you are using your office device, I'm going to you can do whatever you like with my data, download it to your personal system, work without the internet. But if you are using your personal device, I can have a conditional access that says without the internet, you can no longer, without using your company-owned device, you can't download information. You have to work with it online and leave it stored in your SharePoint account or your OneDrive for business account, or you can't download it down to your personal device. So these are some of other ways we can apply data loss prevention to safeguard our company information. Hopefully, one of our Tuesdays will see things like that on another topic. So we have the secure data across different locations. I spoke about Europe having policies that you can't save their data in other places, but you can have regulations at these different storage locations to ensure that transfer is not occurring among different locations, and accidental sharing, which I've been hammering on earlier. Now, this is talking about general characteristic of a data loss prevention, what we want our data loss prevention to be able to achieve. Like I said, there are different forms of protecting your organization from data loss, and there are different vendors or solutions that provide you with different aspects of this security. We have securing data in motion, which is basically sharing, analyzing the traffic of who the data is being shared with, where it can go, where it can't go, where it can reside, where it can reside. Endpoint protections. We talk about people solutions that can actually protect your devices, ensure that people cannot use even USB drives to copy this information from their systems. People cannot use Bluetooth to share this information. You have something like Sophos, you have McAfee that can help you achieve all of these data loss prevention for own physical devices. Talk about securing data in use. So I'm actually working on a document on my personal device, and my organization has policy to say I can't store or save company information or this particular sensitive information, this type of information cannot be stored on my device. So I have that provided for me, or the organization has put that in place to ensure users wherever they are cannot download information. We must have the ability to also identify this data. Someone saying something.
Hello. Please kindly mute your mic. Questions will be attended and taken after this session. Please, if you have any questions, write it in the chat box, or you signify after the speaker's session. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Alimot. So I was saying about data identification and talking about sensitive information. Now, to identify data, an organization, first of all, to be able to achieve or apply data loss prevention to the maximum, to make sure that you benefit from the solution you're selecting, you have to be able to identify which data is significant or which data is required as sensitive in your organization. And in turn, after identifying this data and classifying the sensitive data from the non-sensitive data, you now have to have a solution that can identify this data as well, to say, my solution I'm going to choose or check as, can it provide this identification for so data? If I have my users' information such as house addresses, maybe ID card numbers, does this solution have the ability to be able to detect when this information is being created, when it's being shared, and automatically or manually maybe give policy tips or warnings or block the sharing of all of this data? Does this DLP solution have the ability to do that? So that's one of the characteristics that DLP solution should have. It should be able to detect or identify sensitive information. Now, for detection is basically reporting, which is one of the most brilliant aspects of any DLP solution. It should be able to give me a rich report for me to be able to see the users that have shared this data, or where this data has been shared to, how it's time, what platform it was used. Was it on Teams? Was it SharePoint? Was it via mail? Was it OneDrive for Business? How was this my data shared? And where is this data right now? So these are some of the characteristics that we can have, or that a data loss prevention solution should have. So moving on to our topic for today, which is the data loss prevention in Office 365. Now, for Office 365, the data loss prevention capabilities are actually limited to its solutions like SharePoint Online. We have Teams, we have OneDrive for Business, and you have the most common way of sharing information, which is Exchange Online, which is our email, which we all know about. Now, Office 365 DLP does not help us achieve some of the things I spoke about earlier, which is preventing you from sharing via or copying this information via desktop, via your USB, or sharing via Bluetooth. But it provides a more secure solution, or provides a more security for collaboration tools like our Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, and all of these solutions. Now, the functions of this DLP, like I said, is first of all, you can identify the sensitive information that has been classified for my organization as sensitive. So my organization has come together and said, okay, we want to classify any information that has our users' names, house addresses, ID card numbers, maybe their account numbers for the accounting department. We want to ensure that their BVN and all of this information are classified as sensitive. Now, Office 365 DLP will enable us have view, or is able to detect this sensitive information across this platform like Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business, and Microsoft Teams. Also, for Office 365 DLP, there are some native or default, should I say, sensitive information that has been set, which we'll see later on in this presentation. So Microsoft has gone ahead to create some sensitive information for various parts of the world, maybe your social security number, credit card information that's widely known for some parts of the world like Australia, America, those that have maybe like a consensus or a standard for all of these information. They have gone ahead to provide that information. So Nigeria currently doesn't have any default on Microsoft, because basically we just started getting our BVN, but I'm sure with time Microsoft will start incorporating things like Nigerians BVN, which is sensitive to us, maybe our passport number. We'll probably get there in no time. So we also have the ability to prevent accidental sharing of this information. That's Office 365 gives us the ability to prevent sharing across these platforms. It helps us monitor. Microsoft is also very, very big on reporting. It shows us the content that we shared. If it's an email, it shows us the subject of that email, it shows us who it has been sent to, who sent the email. And we all know that we have this also ability to search people's mailboxes, content search, to be able to even drill down more on this sharing. So Microsoft gives us that ability to report richly. And now I'm moving into the components or the capabilities of what Microsoft DLP policy is all about. The components of this policy, or how this is created, and what are the contents, and how does this work. Now, I already mentioned the locations, which is all of the collaboration solutions that Microsoft deals with: Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Microsoft Teams. Now, how it works is, for Microsoft DLP, you have a rule that you want to create, right? So I would say I have a location first. My users use only Exchange. There are organizations where they don't allow SharePoint or they don't allow Teams. They just want their users to send mail via Exchange. They don't have licenses, or they don't enable them to use SharePoint online. I can as well just select that location to say, since it's Exchange my users use, I want to ensure that on Exchange I create a rule. And the condition is that for every email that contains this is so information, whatever I've decided that is sensitive to my organization, I want this action to be the one to take place. I want you to block this information. I want you to give the sender a tip. I want you to send an email to the admin staffs to them to know that this has happened. I want you to allow the user to override this policy and send the email, but just tell the user that this email is wrong. Whatever action I want to carry out. So that's how Office 365 DLP works. It gives you conditions and gives you actions that will be met or that will be carried out when these conditions are specified or are arrived at. Now, this is just a schematic diagram of what I said. You have a location. I can have multiple rules for different conditions. For instance, I have a condition that says, for any information that has credit card number, the action you should carry out for this information is to block it. And that same policy that I'm creating, instead of creating multiple policies around, I can have on that rule that says, now, if this information the person is creating has just the VPN number, it's fine. You can just warn the user that this is sensitive, so maybe he sent it to the wrong person, or he knows what he's doing and it's allowed, but just let him know that the information he's sending is sensitive. So you can say, for this condition that has been met for a VPN number, you can allow the person to send, but just make sure the person gets a policy tip, and you also send this information to the admin so they are aware that someone has shared a VPN number. Now we have rule 3, which might be something that maybe house address, or something that we think is less, should I say, less sensitive. You can just say, okay, for these conditions, just notify the person and tell the person that you have sent sensitive information, but you don't have to block, you don't have to send a message to the admin. So we can have various rules for various data that it depends on how sensitive or how we see it in our organization. Now, as for my slide now, which is a schematic diagram of, or an example of how DLP works. So we have our EOP that helps us scan, our Exchange Online Protection that helps us scan all of this sharing, communication within our senders, within our organization, and even outside our organization. So what this example is telling us is about a mail. So someone is sending a mail, 2 mails actually. The first mail 1 has credit card information, and on our tenants, we have specified to say, for any email that has credit card information, be it sent to outside my organization, inside my organization, whatever the mail is. For this one, it's saying if it's being sent outside the organization, I'm going to return it back to the person and says you can't send this message. It's going to be blocked. That's what it says. So if it contains CC, it rejects message 1. But for message 2 that has no information that has been required as sensitive. So what this means that if it's only credit card that we see is sensitive, if this message 2 has something else, maybe VPN number or house address, if our organization has not classified that as sensitive or doesn't see a problem with sharing of that information within our outside organization, that message goes through. So DLP is only as strong as we configure it, or as sensitive or detects only that which we have configured it to detect. So that's how it works. We have to be the one to specify the information that we see as sensitive and decide what action will be carried out when this information all these conditions have been met. Now, I will just take us through the Office 365 portal, just show us a little bit of how we can configure these DLP policies, and also just maybe show us the end user view for users that might not have the privilege of being admins or IT personnel, what they are going to experience as an end user. So let me go to my URL. So this is protection.office.com. This website is where your admins will actually administer all of these policies I spoke about, where they'll be able to configure these policies, where they'll be able to tell if policies have been what policies have been breached, if these conditions have been met, and whatnot. Now, the first information, or the first thing I spoke about, was sensitive information and how we can tell which information is sensitive and how we can classify information that we regard as personal or sensitive to our organizations. Now, under classification, we have sensitive labels, which are like pre-existing labels. We have retention labels, and we have sensitive info types. I'm just going to check our sensitive info types and show us what's underneath that. So for sensitive info types, I spoke about the defaults that come to Microsoft tenants, where Microsoft has gone around or has checked to see most countries that have like a standard operation or standard numbers that they use to identify their workers. They have maybe a standard credit card number, driver license number that's across the whole country. So they have pre-built or default made information. You can see this Argentina national identification number. We have Australia bank account number. We have Australia driver license number. We have Australian identity card and all of these, some US, Belgium, all of these countries. But for, like I said, for Nigeria, we don't have our BVN here yet. We don't have things like our driver's license number or our national passport numbers. But we have the ability to be able to create our own sensitive information. Now here we can see I have something like BVN that I created myself, although this is done with something called a regular expression, and that's actually beyond the scope of this our engagement. But there's that ability for you to create sensitive information. If you have developers, or you can contract someone to basically any information you have seen that's sensitive or you think you want to classify as sensitive for your organization, you can have a regular expression written to be able to identify that information so that you can furthermore protect your organization from sharing that information indiscriminately. Now, after organizing or classifying your data or specifying a way to identify your sensitive information, you now move on to the data loss prevention policy, where you can create a policy. I'm going to data loss prevention. Sorry. So here now, I have already created one information, but I can show us, or I will show us how to create this from the scratch and all of the content which we spoke about earlier. So I'm just going to say create policy. Next, start with template. Now I have financial, I have the medical health. I spoke about hospitals and banks, which are the most widely known holders, or should I say holders of sensitive information. Everybody knows banks have our money, our whole particular about our money. We have medical health, which is our social security number, maybe our insurance number. We have whatever it is, information that we don't want, that we give to these banks, that they have of us, our medical records, our whatever it is. So these are like custom templates that have been made down for different countries. We have the Germany, we have the Japan, we have for medical, we have Canada, we have Australia, we have privacy as well, which is like personal information that is sensitive as well. Our social security number, which is Nigerian BVN. And then we come down to the custom, where I want to be the one to create or gather this information. I don't want to use the custom templates that have been made for me or specified for me. I want to move on and select whichever solution I want. I'm not going to name this policy webinar. I can describe whatever I want. That's just customization. We move on to locations. Now, I spoke about locations, where if my organization is something, a place where we use only Exchange, I can decide to say, I will choose this option to say, let me choose a specific location. The first one is talking about all of the collaboration platforms that Microsoft uses, but for us to be able to see what I mean by being able to choose specific locations, I'll choose the second option. Now, this is where it comes to, I can choose emails for particular people. Now, I don't want it to be my whole organization. My organization, my end users, my front desk users, they don't deal with all this sensitive information. I don't want to go as far as blocking it for everybody. I don't think there's a need. I want to make it specific to this department, finance department. They are the ones that always have all the information that's very critical to my organization. Sales department, I want to make sure that they don't share, or they are protected with this DLP policy. They cannot be attacked, or even if they attack, the attacker will not have the ability to be able to share this information. So I want to specify that for SharePoint. If I don't use SharePoint, I can turn that off where I want, or turn it on for OneDrive where I don't use that. So basically, here it gives me the ability to select which location I want to protect, and also as small or as granular as the Teams chat or channel I want to protect, the users I want to protect, the groups I want to protect. That's just what this page gives us. So I'm just going to leave that turned on. I believe you already have an idea of what I mean. Now we'll go to the policy setting. Once again, there's a default, but I'm going to use the advanced to show us within a policy what can be done within a policy. I'm just going to create a rule to say, let me say default, and I can describe whatever I want here. This is basically, for instance, I want someone else has come to the organization. We have another IT staff. When it comes to the portal and he sees default and he enters the description, he knows maybe this is for just the management staff, and he knows this policy was applied for just management staffs. So that's where the description comes in. It's not really a part of the configuration as far as protection or DLP is concerned. Now we have conditions. The conditions I mentioned earlier, that we have to meet conditions first for actions to be taken place. And we have some options. We have to say the condition is we're sending a mail that contains, the content contains, maybe it's a mail, a document, the content is shared. Do I want it for just any content that is shared outside my organization or within my organization? The IP addresses, maybe we have malicious IP addresses that we have blocked in our organization or that we know of. We just want to make sure that any message that comes from this IP address shouldn't be, or this action should be carried out. We have any email attachment, the recipient is, we have rivals, not really rivals, but say maybe a company that we don't really work with or we have several ties with, because for whatever reason we can now ensure that even those within our organization, maybe you have friends there, or for instance, not everybody remembers, or it's something that is new and you just want to ensure that nobody makes that mistake before it goes organization wide. You can immediately stop sharing with that domain. So the recipient domain is so and so ABCD. We no longer work with ABCD, so we should not be able to share messages with ABCD. We have that. We have file extension, it's PowerShell script and exe, whatever it is. So let's just say content contains. Now for content contains, we talk about the sensitive information type, where I said we can create a sensitive information that's particular to our organization. We can make it as particular to our organization as possible. I can select that and come and look for the information I want to protect. What does the content contain for me, my organization? I'm a Nigerian. I want to say if the content contains BVN number, I don't want you to start sharing it to anybody. Don't give anybody this content. If it contains my Nigerian passport as well, don't give anybody the Nigerian passport. I don't want you to be able to share Nigerian passport numbers to anybody. My staffs that have the Nigerian passport stay with my HR on their documents. Any document that has this, or someone that I want to share by mistake or for whatever reason, shouldn't be able to have all of this information. We have credit card numbers, driver license numbers. These are just some custom information I try to add. We also have the accuracy. So to avoid false positives, someone might be sharing a document that has figures, but because it's arranged or looks like a BVN number, it's 11 digits, maybe it's even a phone number, and you can get like a false positive that has been flagged. You can increase or reduce the match accuracy to ensure that it meets this specific content we're trying to block. So that's what this customization does for us, to increase the minimum accuracy, to reduce number of false positives, and to achieve whatever information we want to achieve. We can even have more conditions, like I said, sensitive labels. We have like information that were created, or labels that were created for particular documents. We want to use that label to say any document that's been labeled like this, or any mail that's been labeled with this, make sure it cannot be sent out or block it or whatever. We can do that. We can add extra conditions, of course, and we can now add exceptions. So the only person that can send this email out, or the only person you can share this kind of information with, is this person, or the only person that can receive this kind of information is this person. Whatever exception we want to add to our rule that we have created, our condition we have created, we can have this extra information. So the information is BVN, Nigerian passports. I don't care who's within my organization. Anybody within my organization can get this information. Anybody that is outside my organization must not be able to receive this information. So after creating the condition, I can say the exception is for what? Only with people inside my organization. If the email is sent to 5 people, 3 of them are within my organization, 2 are outside my organization, this content will block it for the 2 outside my organization, like we saw in the schematic diagram earlier. And in turn, it will allow it to deliver to those within my organization. So it's that, it's that rich in control that we can have specific people that can receive this information and we can block it for the other people. So that's what the exception does for us. We can go as far as that. Now the actions now becomes when conditions have been met. What actions will take place? And these actions will, of course, exclude those we have accepted from these conditions. So let's see which actions we can have. We can remove headers so the message cannot be traced or analyzed. We can set specific headers to make sure that even the message is analyzed, it ends at a specific part. Maybe it ends at my firewall at IP. It doesn't go down to my server IP. And we can have also restrict access or encrypt content. Now going down to restrict access or encrypt content, we have block people from sharing and restrict access to the shared content. So if this one blocks everybody, this is it. If I choose this option, I'll block every single person in my organization. I don't care who the person is. If you are sharing this information, it's blocked for you. You can't share it to anybody. I can say only people outside my organization. So it blocks it for those that are going outside my organization. But those within my organization can receive it. Without even using this exception, I can achieve that using this. And now I can go to say only people are given access to the content. So we have a way we share documents on SharePoint and OneDrive where I can send the documents using the link. I'll copy the link. If I want to work with my colleague, I'll just open the document on Word, copy the link and share it to the person. So the person will be able to access that document. We'll just collaborate on it and work with it. So I can say for documents like that, maybe for the finance department, I know that they usually collaborate on documents, be it through Teams or through SharePoint Online or OneDrive. And I want to ensure that only those people that the boss or the colleagues have shared the link with have access to it. So if I give the link to Mr. A and Mr. A will share the link to Mr. B, as long as I've permitted the link or anyone with that link to be able to have access to the document, the person will be able to access the document and work on the document. So that's what anyone with the link means. We can encrypt the message. We know what encryption is to protect it from basically interception and being in plain text, so someone cannot read that information or has a certain level of protection. Or you can see this do not forward option, which means that for any information that has these conditions, the message will be sent to only the person that it has been specified. If I send to Mr. A and Mr. A decides to forward it to Mr. B, he doesn't have the ability to forward that message to Mr. B. So that's what that information does for us. So let's move on to the next part, which is talking about the user notifications. Of course, we cannot just blindly, as an organization, we cannot leave our users in the dark or our users confused, where the user is just trying to send a document and he wouldn't be able to understand why the document is not going, and of course call IT for support to say, hello, is it the IT desk or is it the help desk? I'm trying to send a mail to Mr. B and he can't receive the message. I don't know what's happening. But with these user notifications, immediately the person tries to send a mail, or the person tries to receive, or the person tries to create a content. He sees something like a policy tip. If he creates that, he sees, he gets an email. If he even sends a message to say this information you have shared has certain information, so him is even informed before calling out for help or trying to explain.
Hello, Idara. Apologies, everyone. I think our speaker lost his connection. I will try to fix that now. Please, apologies, everyone. Idara, are you back, please?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I think I lost the connection earlier. So, sorry, what was the last thing we heard, Halimat? Did you hear part of policy tips?
Yes.
Okay. So it's policy tips.
Okay, so basically that's what policy tips gives you. It gives you like an image or a message down to your end users for them to be able to be informed about what's going on, whatever is blocking this their information they're trying to share without them even having to reach out to the help desk to know what's going on to their emails. So that's how granular this is. I can even customize the message and say the organization, let me use an aggressive term. Organization forbids sharing of such information. You know, we can even have words, keywords like vulgar languages flagged also and classified as sensitive, basically, to say once such keywords are used, such vulgar words in this age of everybody fighting against racism, we can have some racist terms actually flagged and blocked from sharing using organization email. So that can say your organization forbids sharing of such information. So the user contact your admin for more, or contact HR for more information. So you can have this shown to your end users. So when they try to send an information that has been classified as sensitive, they get this policy tip and they know that if they want to get more information, they have to contact the HR. But for now, they are forbidden from sharing this information. And down to the user overrides, which to me, it actually, for some reason, it has its ups and downs. This allows the users, if I turn it on now, this allows the users, after all of these settings I have put in place, lock the users, not allow sharing outside my organization, whatever it is, this being turned on now allows the user to go ahead and do whatever he still likes with that information. Even though I've given warning, I've tried to block it, I've done whatever I've tried to put in place, but giving the user, the end user, this ability to be able to override. Now, I'll say maybe override with a justification, but still, if I don't want this information to be shared out of my organization, the only way I can be 100% sure that it's being blocked is if I turn this off. But turning this on will enable users that actually want to share the information with someone that is legitimate to just, instead of calling IT or asking for more information or support, allows them just go ahead to ignore all of these blocks and just send that information. That's what this user override does for you. But it basically isn't that, basically defeats the purpose of a DLP to me. Now we have the conditions. If it's something that we think is not that sensitive, maybe we just say BVN number and we don't require, we know it's sensitive, but we don't see it as something that's high severity. We can say for this rule, flag it as something that's high. So if I, as an IT admin, I get 5 reports and I see that this one is low, this one is high. Most times we get a lot of reports, so we try to attend to them. If someone has So basically, I'm saying for our incident reports, IT admins usually get a lot of alerts. So they try to attack them, or should I say, treat them according to severity. So we'll try as much as possible to select which information we see is as severe as the others. So for credit card information, I can choose high. For something like BVN, that's not that really, it's not that serious, I can choose low or medium. For passport number, driver license, I can choose medium. So the IT admin knows where to start from or which alerts to troubleshoot first before going to the others. And we have what we want to do. We want to stop. If we have 5 rules in this single policy, do we want to stop processing the rules after just one notification? So if he has, for instance, he has driver license number, I have one rule for that. He has BVN, I have one rule for that. He has something else like maybe house address, and I have a rule for that. Do I want to make sure that it checks all that this email or this data being created meets all these rules, or once he sees that there's a problem with one, it stops there and carries out the action? That's what this talks about. So basically, this is what is within a DLP policy. Now I'll try and see if we can just get a view of the user end. Let me see. Okay, so this is user end organization, and okay, let me see if I have one message here. Okay, so this is just an example of the information. Maybe the user created a document in OneDrive, I believe so, and he got an email, right, to say this information or this document that you have in OneDrive contains this so information. Let me show you his OneDrive and see where the information is coming from. So it's not just, like I said, it's not just particular to just email. For the policy I created that covers SharePoint, OneDrive, and all of it, you can see a document that user uploaded to the cloud. He wants to store it in his OneDrive. It allows him to store it because it's a personal document to him. But it has said here that this document contains, let me see if I can get the details. Okay, it says here now, let me see if I can zoom in. This item contains sensitive information. All recipients must be authorized to receive this content. And I can also view the policy tip that has been created. I can see the item contains BVN, Nigerian card, and whatever information. And that's the reason why it has been flagged that it contains sensitive information. If I should open the document, we'll see. So this is just a document that I created that has some sensitive information here. Basically, let me just copy that. You can see the policy tip alert. This banner doesn't just appear on documents as well. We'll get a banner like this if you're creating a document on Teams, if you're trying to send a message on Teams that has such information, even on Outlook. Let me see. We are trying to send a new email on Outlook, and the Outlook has an attachment that has information or has the mail body that has this information. You usually get a policy tip to say this information has been protected, or this content has maybe sensitive information that has been specified by organization. You are not allowed to share this information. So that's how rich DLP, or that's the capabilities that DLP gives us. If you send an email, I'll probably get a bounce back to say this email has been sent, but it contains such information. I mean, you can see the policy tip here, like I said earlier, policy tip alert. So a user that is maybe new to organization that has not gone through his whole orientation but has to dive straight into work for whatever reason, he's trying to share an information. He doesn't know the norms of the organization. He quickly gets a policy tip that says this file contains sensitive information and is restricted from sharing. And he is informed even before he gets his complete orientation of the restrictions in an organization. So basically, that's what Office 365 DLP does for you. It protects across not just email, like I was saying, our OneDrive, our SharePoint, and also Teams collaboration. So I hope we've been able to get, even if not all of it, a little glimpse into the capabilities of Office 365 DLP. And that will be the end of our session for today.
Thank you so much, Idara. That was an interesting session, quite informative as well. I learned a lot, especially with regards to how to use the integrations on Office 365 to achieve data privacy and data security. I'm sure a lot of people feel like that too, but here we are with at the Q&A segment. Please, if you have any question, leave them in the chat box, or you simply signify by using the raise hand feature. Idara is right here to answer all your questions. Any questions? Yes. Somebody said is well done, very informative. I agree as well. Kindly leave a thumbs up for Idara, because that was a very, very, very informative section. Any question whatsoever? Yes, someone is asking. Yes, this session is being recorded and it will be available on our YouTube channel. I just shared the link in the chat box. Kindly click through to see. So I think that is all. Thank you once again, Dara. There is no questions so far. It has been an amazing one for me, and I hope we all learn one or two tricks regarding DPL features and policies. So I'm going to drop our survey for you to fill. Please, we cherish feedback. We want to know how we can serve you better. If you have any topic in mind that you really want to learn about, you can drop it in the survey. I'm going to be sharing the link now so that we can all fill and we can help. It can help us create better session in future webinars. Thank you, everyone.
Hand raised.
Hand raised. Oh,
yes.
Okay.
As is hand raised.
Okay. Yes. Let me see that. So I can see hand raised. Please, kindly unmute your mic if you just raised your hand. Hand raised, please raise up. Kindly unmute your mic to ask your question. Or if you can't, you can leave it in the chat box. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Agida.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, this DLP, is it available to all the Microsoft 365 plans?
Okay, so Office 365 DLP has license requirements as well. So what I can do for you, I can send a link. I'll drop a link in the chat for us to be able to see, or for you to be able to see the links available, or the links that have these DLP policies within it, or sorry, the licenses that have the DLP capabilities.
Oh, okay. Now I'm saying the Microsoft 365 business plans. Which of the plans? What's the minimum plan that has it?
Okay, E3 plan, your Microsoft 365 E3 plan, I guess. Well, I cannot be 100% certain because Microsoft keeps changing some of these things. So that's why I would prefer to send you a link. But your E3 plan is the one that has the DLP policy. You have the E5, of course, that has everything.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much, Idara. Do we have any other question, recommendation, or what's it called? Comments whatsoever? Please leave it in the chat box.
So if there are no more questions, thank you everybody.
One last question, please.
Okay, please go on.
Yeah, regarding the regular expressions you talked about. Yeah, because this DLP, it can't work without these regular expressions for the like BVN, for the driver's license, for the passport number. How do we get to have these things in our environment? Because anywhere where I see BM, anywhere where I see DLP, you can't implement it without these regular expressions. If you try to create the regular expressions, you'll just be doing nonsense. It doesn't help. It doesn't do. There's no help on that. So I don't know.
Okay.
And
so
you said it's
actually,
beyond the scope of this. Sorry for cutting you. You said it's beyond the scope of this project. I mean this presentation.
Okay, so are you done? Can I answer now? Okay, so I said regex is beyond this because myself, I'm not an expert in regex, really. The regex I used to create this BAVN and passport numbers was actually something I just came up with. It took me a while to come up with my colleagues, but it's not something I'm an expert in, and I'm sure there are even better ways to actually write the expression that will classify all of this information. Like you said, there's not really, it's not something that is common to everybody else. So that's why I said, if you want for your environment, if you have a specific information that you want to classify as sensitive expressions, that we'll be able to write whatever expression to describe or to be able to identify the information you want. You have organizations like banks, they have their developers that are actually fluent in regular expressions. For card numbers, we have various card numbers, the ones that are 16, we have the ones that are 15, 14, Visa cards and Web cards. So what those regular expressions does for those bank people, or should I say what it does for the bank as an organization, those developers help them write expressions that can identify these cards. So for whatever DLP policy they want to implement, they have expressions that can identify the card numbers on various cards, and we achieve this. And the reason why I said it's beyond the scope of this engagement is because myself, I'm not an expert in regular expressions, so I will not be able to actually teach someone how to come up with regular expressions.
Oh, okay. Okay, but when will all these OEMs have Nigerian information imputed in their solutions? Because all these years, Nigeria has been consuming these products and we still don't have our information in their solutions. I don't know, you partners should discuss with these guys and they should come up with these things for us so that it will be easy for us to make use of these solutions without necessarily contacting or needing an expert to create the regular expressions. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And that's actually a valid point. But one again, not that I'm defending the OEMs, I'm actually on your side, but one again is the Nigeria, first of all, is seen as a third world country. And we have not really been digitalized enough or for them to put in that kind of effort or put in much of these resources to phase out or to actually implement or integrate Nigerian platform. For instance, this NIN that we're doing now that has been around for close to maybe 10 years, because of this now SIM registration and other issues are when people are actually trying to get NIN and even BVN. Some people till now don't use bank accounts in Nigeria. People don't, they say they don't use banks, they don't trust banks up to this moment. So because of situations like this, sometimes the OEMs are actually skeptical to invest a lot in actually bringing or integrating the so-called third world countries information into their platforms. So
Okay, thank
by
you
the time we
very
get
much.
okay, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Idara, kindly complete your statement. I thought you were done.
It's fine now. I'm done making excuses for the OEMs.
Hello, Idara.
Can you hear me? I said it's fine. I was done making excuses for the OEMs, by the way. I was just trying
think
to
we lost.
be the devil's advocate.
So thank you everyone for joining. Please don't forget to follow us via our social media handles. The links are dropped in the chat box. And also for the survey form, please fill. We appreciate feedback a lot. It will help us map out topics to share with you in future webinars. Do all have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.